Hello friends, welcome to story time. It's almost spring, so I thought it would be a good day for us to talk about some things that are green. We've seen a lot of white over the last few months, and now that the snow is starting to melt, then we'll see some green grass and some green in the trees. What else can you think of that's green? There's lots of greens. We're going to see some different greens in this book that's called Green. Forest green. What's green in the forest? The leaves. Sea green. The water's a little green, and so is that turtle. Lime green. One of my favorite greens. It's so bright. Pea green. Does that make you hungry? Jungle green. Is that green bright or is it dark? Looks pretty dark to me. Khaki green. It's almost brown. It's hard to see that lizard, isn't it? Fern green. Wacky green. Is a zebra striped green? No, but I guess if we're coloring that zebra, we can make it any color we want, right? This one has some nice green stripes. Slow green. What's on there that's green and slow? Caterpillar? I think so. Faded green. That's definitely not as bright as those lines, is it? Glow green. What is it that glows green in the dark in the night sky? Can you remember? We haven't seen them in a very long time. Fireflies? Do you remember those? It's a nice yellow green, isn't it? Shaded green. It looks like a nice place for a book. I'd like to read a story under a nice tree, wouldn't you? All green. Look at all those different greens. Nevergreen. What color is that? Right? That's never going to be green, is it? Stop signs are always red. Red is for stop. And what color is for go? That's right, green. Oh no, no green. As fun as snowmen are, I think I would much rather see this as green. Like this green. Time for a garden. forever green. The end. So can you think of other things that are green? There's a lot of different greens in the world. And speaking of things in the world, we're going to talk about a whole other country, someplace else across the world, called Ireland, because today is one of their holidays called St. Patrick's Day. And they have very fun tales in Ireland about little magical people, fairy folk, that they call leprechauns. And leprechauns can be very mischievous. They can get into trouble. They can hide things from you. They can take things and put them other places. But there's also stories that if you ever catch a leprechaun, that they have to grant you a wish or give you their pot of money, their pot of gold. So we're going to do a rhyme before our next story. And this one is to the tune of I'm a Little Teapot, if you know that song. If not, I'm going to go over it a couple of times and you can follow along with me. Ready? Okay. I'm a little leprechaun dressed in green, the tiniest man that you've ever seen. If you ever catch me, so it's told, I will give you my pot of gold. Very good. Should we do that one more time? All right, here we go. I'm a little leprechaun dressed in green, the tiniest man that you've ever seen. And if you ever catch me, so it's told, I will give you my pot of gold. We're going to read a story. It's a longer story about a very clever girl who tried to trick a leprechaun. This book is called Fiona's Luck by Teresa Bateman. Let's see if Fiona's lucky and can trick that leprechaun. Once, luck was as free to be had in Ireland as sunlight, and just as plentiful. It filled the air, and anyone could grab a handful of it as the need arose. This was largely due to the leprechauns, for they made luck like cows made milk. Then the big folk arrived in Ireland. They were so large, the luck clung to them wherever they went. Something will have to be done, the king of the leprechauns declared. We can't have those huge people soaking up all of the luck. What would be left for us? So under the king's orders, the leprechauns wove fine golden thread into magical nets. Then late one midsummer's eve, when the luck was at its height, they swept it up and stored it all in an oak chest by the king's throne so he could distribute it where and when he chose. But the leprechauns had been too thorough. They not only scooped up all the leprechaun luck, but any other luck that had to been floating about as well. The land of Ireland fell into a time of great misfortune. Hens gave no eggs, and cows would not let down their milk, and the potatoes rotted in the ground. It's not good. Now it happened that in Ireland there lived a woman named Fiona. She knew the lack of luck had to be the work of the leprechauns. So it followed they alone could restore good fortune to the land. But getting luck back from a leprechaun would be like squeezing water from a stone. Not that it can't be done, but it usually requires more strength than you're apt to have. Sometimes cleverness, though, is worth more than strength. That's how Fiona can be clever enough. So Fiona took the last coins and used them to buy a cow and some chickens. Then every morning and evening, she would take the cow into the barn. When she emerged, she would be carrying 2 buckets, slopping over with whiteness. "Ah, she's a fine cow," Fiona would say to anyone who asked. "It's lucky I am to have her." Soon the rumors began. While others were short of luck, Fiona had pails of it. Every morning, Fiona would go into the chicken coop and emerge with covered baskets bulging with curves. "The hens seem contented," she commented to her neighbors. "It's lucky I am to have them." Soon the rumor spread. While others were short of luck, Fiona had baskets of it. Then Fiona began digging in her garden and filling her wheelbarrow with round, dirt-covered lumps. "It's not a good year for potatoes," Fiona said to all who passed. "Still, I'm lucky to have what I have." Now the rumors had wings. While others were short on luck, Fiona had wheelbarrows of it. Naturally, word of this unexpected luck made its way to the Leprechaun King. One day, Fiona was walking across a green meadow when she suddenly found herself surrounded by a small crowd of fair folk. In a trice, they grasped the hem of her skirt and ran around her in a circle. She turned to keep the skirt from wrapping around her knees, and as she turned, the landscape blurred. When it sharpened again, Fiona found herself beneath the earth in the throne room of the Leprechaun King. It was a glorious cavern with rich tapestries hanging against the tall granite walls, and the floors cobbled entirely of jewels. Torches and candlelights made everything sparkle, and music filled the air. In front of Fiona stood the throne, and on the throne sat the Leprechaun King. He beckoned to her. Fiona approached, her eyes scanning the room for the missing luck. She was sure as smoke blows fire that the king would keep it close to himself. As she curtsied, she spied the oak chest. It was glowing slightly, sealed by a spell, since everyone knows that no lock can hold luck for long. "What would you be wanting of me?" Fiona asked politely. The king scowled. "Where are you getting all your luck? Who's been giving it to you and why?" he demanded. Fiona's eyes widened in innocence. "I have no luck," she declared. "Indeed, here I am, a captain of the leprechauns. If that's luck, you can take it." "So you claim to have no luck?" inquired the king, raising his eyebrows. "Well, let's put it to the test. And when I prove you've lied to me, as forfeit, I'll take all the luck you have and put it with the rest that I guard." His eyes flickered towards the chest. Fiona frowned. "That's a sorry bargain for me," she said. "Yet I know the rules. If a test is to be made, then a forfeit must be paid by the loser. I haven't lied. So when I'm proved truthful, I demand a wish from you as forfeit." The king's eyes turned shrewd. "Agreed," he said slyly. "I'll give you a wish for exactly the value of luck that you have, if my test proves me wrong." Fiona knew she was being cheated. A woman of wit, though, can turn even a leprechaun's cleverness against himself. She glanced at the chest, and then, barely keeping a smile from her lips, she nodded. So the agreement was made. At the king's gesture, one of the magicians brought out a low table and placed upon it 3 beautiful shells. Under one hid a small gold coin. Then he whisked the shells around and over and under in a blur no human eye could follow. "Now," said the king, "where's the gold?" Well, there was one chance in 3 of her picking correctly. A person with good luck would find the gold every time. Even a person with a little luck would find the gold occasionally. But though they played the game over and over again, Fiona could never locate the coin. It was as if she had no luck at all. "Another test," the king ordered. The Leprechaun Harp was brought forth. Now, leprechaun instruments make music by the luck of the player. A person with good luck would be able to play something just by stroking the strings. Even a person with a hint of luck could probably finger out a small melody. But in Fiona's hands, the strings went out of tune, and no matter how she stroked and plucked, nothing but ear-bending noise resulted. The king shuddered and frowned. Could he have been mistaken? Perhaps the last test would prove him right. "Bring out the chess set," he demanded. He and Fiona faced each other across the chessboard. The king made his opening move. No one could beat the king of the leprechauns, for he was steeped in luck. But a person with good luck could last for a little while against him. Even a person with a bit of luck had hopes of making a few good moves. Despite the king trying his hardest to lose, though, Fiona was beaten soundly within 2 minutes. The king eyed her in amazement. "You have no luck at all," he declared. "But what about the milk and the eggs and the potatoes?" Fiona sighed. "If I fill my milk bucket with whitewash, or my egg basket with pine cones, or my wheelbarrow with dirty rocks, surely that's my own business. I told you I had no luck, and I didn't lie. Now I'll take my wish and be on my way." The king nodded slowly. "Indeed, I did promise you a wish, but for exactly the value of your luck. You've proven to me that you have no luck at all, so that's all you can wish for. Nothing." He smiled at his cleverness for his reasoning, all well within the limits of leprechaun law. Then his smile wavered, for Fiona was smiling too. "So I can wish for nothing?" she asked. He nodded, puzzled. "Then I wish for a hole," Fiona continued. "A hole is nothing after all. That's exactly the value of my wish. I wish for a hole." that will never go away, and I wish for it to be in the lid of that chest. She pointed to the chest of luck by the king's throne. The power of a wish rightly earned is not to be denied. A hole appeared in the chest, and luck began escaping immediately. The king howled with rage, but what could he do? He had made a bargain and was forced to keep it. With an angry wave of his hand, Fiona was whirled away. When she opened her eyes, she was back in the meadow. The sun was just rising over the hills. If there was an extra sparkle to the sunshine, and the grass glowed greener that day than before, well, that was only to be expected. And that is why, from that day to this, you'll always find some luck roaming free around Ireland. For the hole is still in the chest, and the king must keep his promise. But as for Fiona, well, as she said herself, luck's all well and good, but myself, I'd rather depend on my wits. The end. And that is the story of Fiona's luck and how she tricked the Leprechaun King. Thank you for listening to Storytime today. We'll see you all soon. Bye, friends.